member, it is because any member of the public within South Africa and beyond our borders is free to contact members of my cabinet, the executive, or the public service directly. This is in line with the ethos of our administration, which promotes an open and accessible government.
I'm Mariella Masangu, I'm from Randburg, and I guess we're going to be talking about the Guptas and the influence that they have on politics here in South Africa.
My name is Lenmara Muloe and I'm a member of the 1873 Network.
I'm also a member of the 1873 Network and my name is Millicent Manuma.
Hi, my name is Garrison Uza and I'm also a member of the 1873 Network.
Hi, my name is Tamza and we have to discuss a few issues, or a few topics rather, about the Guptas.
Okay, recently Floyd Shivambu raised an interesting fact about the Guptas and the President of South Africa, President Jacob Zuma. So the statement was shared by the activist from EFF, I'm sure we all know him, Julius Malema, and he said that at the time the ANC Youth League President Julius Malema said in front of Mr. Zuma that South Africa's democracy was, and in quotes, not a democracy of families. This is a democracy of the people of the country. When families are exploiting the resources of this country and are enriching themselves in the name of freedom, when those in political office abuse their power to benefit friends, the youth must rise in defense of the ANC. Today we have people that I consider to be youth, including myself. What do you say about this statement?
Okay, I'm going to start off by saying that it's a lot of responsibility to put on the shoulders of youth who might not be as educated as, you know, the older generation in terms of what influences political forces in the country. I'm just going to start off by saying that.
So you're saying it's too much a burden? It's
too much of a burden, especially if they don't know what kind of a war they're getting into.
Okay, what kind of a world are they getting into, according to your own point of view?
It sounds like something that runs back into, you know, the past, into history, as to outside forces that influences political activities in the country. I feel like if they are going to be, you know, given a voice, or if they have to stand up for things that are wrong in terms of corruption and stuff like that, they need to be educated first. You can't come into a war without knowing what you're fighting for, or, you know, sort of getting a background.
All right. Okay. As you're talking there, you said something about corruption. Do you think the relationship between the president and the Guptas is a corrupt one? Or do you think the Guptas are justified for being where they are right now? It has nothing to do with them influencing the president.
Okay, I'm going to be very blunt about it. With the fact that the Guptas are Indians, if I'm not right, if I'm not wrong, right? And South Africa, as we know it, is basically, as a black people, we as a black people. So if an outside force that is Indian is influencing the government so much as they have.
But can we call it an outside force? Because as I recall, the Guptas came here in 1993, and since then they've acquired South African citizenship. So are they really an outside force, or they are actually South Africans? They are part of this nation.
Again, the fact that you're asking that question actually reinforces my first argument. I don't even know that much about the Guptas.
Okay.
So how, as the youth, can we now come in and, you know, fight a war that we're not educated on?
That's right.
You know, I didn't even know that they...
So you do agree that the first thing that we need as the youth of this generation is knowledge?
Absolutely.
We need to be educated.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you, Mariella. What do you have to say, Limbar?
Okay, well, based on the statement,
Yes.
I think that the statement, in the context it was used in the article by Mr.
Shivambu.
Shivambu,
Floyd Shivambu.
it's basically saying that the Guptas are corrupt and they're influencing the government in some way. And I think that for someone to make such a claim, there has to be proof, for one.
That's right.
And secondly, I think that to just say someone is wealthy because of the influence of the government, then I think everybody else in this country should then, if they have some sort of relationship with the government, then that's why they're rich. I think that, like you were saying, they came when they came, and they came to South Africa with no promise of wealth. You understand? They probably had an idea of, we can start like this, and if I remember reading correctly, that one of their businesses that they started when they came, it actually failed. And then they went into
That's
something
right,
else.
in the shoe
Yes,
business.
they were in the
Yeah.
shoe business, it failed, then they went into something else, which goes to show that there was hard work that was put into it. And now just because I'm whoever's friend, now you take all my wealth and all my hard work and say it's corruption. I mean, does the president have so much power to make somebody wealthy? I mean, President Zuma has other friends, I'm sure. He has other family members. Then if he had the power to make people wealthy, then do you think he would only limit it to the Gupta family? And what
Which
relationship?
also goes back to what Mariela was saying, that do the Guptas have that much power to
I don't think
influence
so.
the whole country?
Because it's only 5, right?
Yeah.
3 brothers, a sister and a mother.
That's right.
Can they then take over? Like, there's a statement that says that the Guptas will take over the country. Can 5 people really take over a country of 55 million people? That's something that the 55 million people should have to look at and say, are we that naive or whatever, that only 5 people can take over a country of 55 people? And does the government have that much power to give a country? And can a country be
And
actually...
you're talking about the government. Maybe you can enlighten us about what the government is.
The government is basically people, right? Government, the government is instituted because there's people that need the government. I mean, in the animal kingdom, there's no government. And the government is just there to secure our rights as individuals. We don't need a government if we don't have rights to protect.
That's right. So the government is there to protect.
Yes.
What is it there to protect exactly?
Our rights, as individuals, we have the right to liberty, right to life, right to pursuit of happiness, and the government is instituted to protect those rights. Because if the government was not there, then it would just be the strong man wins. Like, you won't own anything, because if a stronger person comes and says, then I want this jersey,
So
then I'll have to give it to
what
them.
enforces that? What do you call that?
What enforceable?
What enforces those rights? It's not only the government. We're talking about the rule of law,
Yes.
which applies also to the Guptas. That the rule of law advocates in their favor, that they haven't done anything wrong. But it's certain individuals who think that the Guptas are doing something wrong with the resources of the country because of their affiliation with the president. But the rule of law in this case seems to find them flawless. They're business people who came to South Africa and they've been pursuing their business and they've been doing well.
I think, like she said, it's lack of knowledge, basically. Because if you don't know something, yeah, like we say, ignorance and prejudice are friends. If you don't know something, then you're prejudiced. And prejudice can actually take more like violent form or harmful form, because you don't know something, so you just think they're wealthy because they're Indian. And in the article that we read earlier on, which was saying that it's kind of ironic that the Minister of Finance that was put in recently to sort of stabilize our economy is
Gordon.
Indian, Prabin Gordon,
Gordon,
yes. And then here's another Indian family that's being said, no, they're not South African because they came in and now they own. But then here's another person, individual of Indian origin, who is said to be South African because he works in people's favor. And here's another family that's also Indian, and they being excluded from the Indian family. And I think that also raises a lot of
So recently, whilst you're there, recently they've been blaming the president for being indecisive because he chose one minister for the same post, and then he removed the minister and put another minister, only to put back the first minister, and that's Pravin Gordhan, the one we're talking about. Was the president's decision influenced by the right advice, or you think it was a misjudgment?
Quickly, can I just add something on that one? Just quickly. I think it's okay for our president to change his mind. If you see something is not working, there's nothing wrong for a president not to go back to something that works.
That's right.
I just wanted to add that on there.
And I think it's within his constitutional right, because when he put the first minister that he removed, he didn't ask for the public's advice.
Yeah.
And he put him, and there were people who had their comments about the one. Then when he removed, they still had comments about it. And then when he realized his mistake, or he realized what he realized, and he put somebody else, and people still judge him for it. It just goes to show that.
Okay, people are saying that Lenin's removal was influenced by the Guptas. That's why we ended up with Pravin.
It just shows like indecisiveness, on my view. Like they agree with each other and say like, yeah. But for me, it shows indecisiveness to move a person you move, and you know what I'm saying? Like it shows that you're not very sure of what you're doing. Your decision should be a decision from the word go.
That's right.
Do you
But
get-
then also, I mean, he's human. When you knock on the president's door, the person who's sitting behind that door is a human being. So at that point that he made that decision, he probably was like, you know what, this is the right person. And then things happened when he made that decision, and he decided, I mean, it's the same as us. We have our life-changing decisions that we make, and we realize that, you know what, no, I was wrong in doing this. Let me do something else. And the term president does not actually remove him from being a human being. Because,
I
like you
disagree
said,
with that. I just feel like it's not like you're removing a shoe. It's just a shoe or a piece of clothing that you're removing, and then you can replace it at any time. When you make such a decision, and then you decide against it afterwards, it just shows how indecisive you are as a president, and it questions whether you should be in that position or not in the first place. It's something very serious. Like it's a decision that's going to influence a lot of people in South Africa. You know, a lot of citizens.
But then, what do you do then when you realize that, no, I've made a mistake, I need to go back and do the right thing? Do you keep doing it because people are going to say, no, this guy is stupid? No, you change. A leader changes.
It shows
You
that
have to.
you
You
didn't
don't have a
take
choice.
your time as a leader to pick whoever was rightful for that position, and that's something that you should do, you should practice.
So
Yeah.
Maria,
I feel-
you're speaking about indecisiveness. Is there a cure for that? And in the first place, is indecisiveness a disease? Is it a state? What is it?
I feel like it's just something that it's a trait that you should already have as a president. Presidency is something very serious. You're leading an entire country, an entire nation. When you now changing ministers back and forth, you know, you're playing with people's lives. It's not just the ministers, and you know, the country that's watching you as well. So you're so indecisive with that decision that you have to shift the person back and forth. It just shows how, I don't know, that's my opinion. I feel like it shows
But then,
childishness.
okay, guys, then
I don't think it's something that you can cure. I think it's something that, as a president, you should already have as a trait of
Okay.
personality, that you should already have
Is
that.
someone born to be a president in the first place? If you're saying, as a president, you should have that trait. You should be decisive. So is there someone who is born a president having that ability of decision making, or it's
No.
something?
I disagree with that, because obviously that's why you have advisors. You know, you cannot blame. I'm not supporting anything right now, but you cannot blame one person. Remember, it's an organization.
but are we
So now
supposed to
you
be blaming
you are
anyone?
you are representing an organization. So when you make a decision, it's from the organization. You know, you've got advisors. So you cannot blame one person, because it's a teamwork. So immediately when they realized, no, that was the wrong decision, they had to change. But he has to stand out
So
and say, guys, I'm
you are
changing
saying
this.
The president didn't act alone in that
Oh,
decision.
definitely. But
I don't think
okay,
the
let's go
president
back to
ever
the
acts
issue.
I agree with
Yeah,
that.
let's go back to the issue like you asked us. Like, were the Guptas involved in that decision? That's the question that you asked.
But that's
I mean, I think we cannot. I think we cannot.
Many other people are
We
saying.
cannot actually, like, say yes or no, because we don't have the proof to actually say yes or no, which is something that I think even the one who is saying that the Guptas had an influence, he needs to prove to us that they had an influence. Because I mean, even the laws of South Africa says the onus is on you to prove. You know, you are actually considered innocent until proven guilty, and the person that says you are guilty is the one that you are not supposed to prove your innocence, because you are innocent until proven guilty, and the onus is on somebody to prove that you are guilty. So I don't think that the Guptas themselves even have to prove their innocence to say, no, I didn't do this. But the one who claims they did, like, have an influence has to prove how and, like, why it would be of interest. I mean, he said that they had an interest so that they can easily exploit the resources of South Africa and all of that. And then that's what I'm saying to say, can 5 people really take over a country? You know, like South Africa, the whole of South Africa, can 5 people really just come in and say, you know what, guys, we're taking over?
Then there's something wrong with us. We are in South Africa and we're part of the 55 million people. So it means there's something wrong with us then.
To answer her question,
Yeah.
I agree with that. To answer her question, actually it is possible. From what I've seen and from my experience, I feel like wealth influences a lot of decisions in terms of politics, especially here in South Africa.
That's right.
And going back to what you were saying, like what I was saying, it just shows indecisiveness when you're switching. I mean, the world is watching. If you can't even make a decision on one minister, you're switching the minister back and forth. What does it show about you as a country? What are you guys doing as a leadership of the country?
So
I think
you are saying the people are justified for protesting against the president?
Absolutely. If you feel like your rights, like she was talking about rights and how the government is established to protect our rights. If you feel like your rights are not being protected, then you're absolutely within your rights to protest against the government.
But don't you think maybe the protest is misinformed? Probably.
Misinformed in what way?
I mean, if we are saying that Zuma must fall because he decided to put someone, then to move, then put someone, then I mean the next president who's gonna come might not be able to actually make any decision, because now he's gonna think, okay, so if I make this decision, I must fall.
Let me ask.
But then
what are the duties of a president?
Wait, okay, let me just continue before I come. Because President Zuma, when he left in Kanda, he had his own, dream, right? Just like Martin Luther King had a dream, just like Nelson Mandela had a dream. He had a dream and he said, I'm going to be president, or whatever he said he was going to. And he left in Kanda. He didn't inform any of us. I don't think any of us got a phone call from Zuma to say, guys, I'm leaving Kanda, I'm coming there. He didn't. Now he's in the State House. And then for everyone to think that just because Zuma is in the State House, now my problem he should fix, now this one's problem he should fix this one. I don't think that is the role of the president. I think that if people actually look to see what is the role of the government, what is the role of the president, then once we know, then we can decide, must he fall or must he be the president? Because for us to say, just because he did this, if we all rely on what he is doing, then I mean, if he decides not to wake up tomorrow, does that mean that the country must fall?
So what is the role of the president?
Pause. I don't
The
know.
role of the president.
No, it's alright. Okay,
No, you have to take that out.
what do you think the role of the president is?
Unfortunately, whatever mistakes that the government makes,
Okay,
the
do you agree
president,
that the president has the right to nominate, appoint, remove any minister of the cabinet?
Constitutionally, yeah, he does.
He does have the right.
That's his constitutional right to do it.
So by him nominating, did anyone consult him when he was nominating and appointing? And did anyone consult him also when he was removing? now that people are speaking about it after somebody has been removed. But what inspired the nomination of that candidate?
I don't
think
think
that's the question we also need to interrogate. If
But I
we
think-
had no part in the decision making that led to Nene being appointed,
So you
how
talking
then
about
can we have part in his removal?
the influence he had in the removal and the placing of whoever he's placing into power? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes,
Because
I'm
remember
talking
we were
about-
talking about, he mentioned how the president always has advisors. Unfortunately, as the president, whatever decision you make at the end of the day, and the person, whichever minister you you appoint, whatever mistake they make at the end of the day, will come back to you as the president because you appointed that person.
That's right. So he had to fix it. That's
Yeah.
what Tamza says. That the president was obliged to act. He realized that his first choice wasn't the best choice. So as a thinking person, he went into a thinking process.
As a leader,
And then
But how many times
No,
did he
the
appoint
decision that
and
came
reappoint?
was to
he didn't.
remove Nene
Was that
because
Twice.
twice.
of
Twice.
reasons unknown.
He
Mm.
removed the president.
And then he appointed somebody. And after appointing Gordon, the economy actually boosted just a little bit. That's when
My
we,
advice, like for the president and his advice, like especially for the president, watch your advisors and the team of advisors that you appoint for yourself when you become president
Yeah.
to surround you.
Yeah,
Because
I think that's important.
remember, if you are the president and we are your team and we all agree and you disagree with us, at the end of the day we can influence you.
Now we're ready to learn.